Today I'm at Crook Hall to explore their mysterious garden rooms and the plants that grow within them. Let's go take a look around.
Crook Hall Gardens is a National Trust property where the garden is joined together with winding paths, leading you through its famous Cotoneaster Maze and into the arts and crafts style garden rooms. Throughout the centuries, famous poets such as John Ruskin and William Wordsworth stayed at Crook Hall and explored the estate. I spoke with the head gardener Cal Stewart to find out more about the history, the beautiful plants on show in spring, and how he maintains the mystery of these gardens.
Crook Hall Gardens is fairly modern in its planting, but we play part in arts and crafts movement, or try and replicate what you would have normally associated with that 19th century garden design. The space is divided up into lots of different rooms and different colours and different palettes to play with and texture to look at. James Raine, a Yorkshire-born topographer, and his wife, Margaret Peacock, were tenants here in the early 19th century, and they had rather famous names visiting them from time to time as well. So people like William and Dorothy Wordsworth, Walter Scott, and also John Ruskin are a handful of the interesting and rather special people that have visited Crook Hall Gardens in its time here. The gardens at Crook Hall, like we say, reflect some of the movements in arts and crafts garden design. So the rooms that we have here, for example, we have the silver and white garden. We have the Shakespeare Garden, which is planted to reflect the sonnets and the works of Shakespeare. We also have places like the Cathedral Garden, where you get lovely visual landscape pictures that you can take home with you. We of course have some of the more traditional elements as well, like a productive garden where we grow and show people how to crop food and be part of a self-sustaining world, as well as looking after wildlife and nature is really at the heart of what we do here. We want to give back to wildlife and nature, and as an organisation as well, that's very important to us here. This is the silver and white garden. It was planted to celebrate the anniversary of the residents that were here at one time for their wedding anniversary. I wonder if you can guess why it's called the silver and the white garden. This is one of my favourite plants down here for spring colour. This is a spirea, and you can see that it's just absolutely full of these lovely dainty little white flowers that really fill the space. Another favourite plant of mine, it's just over my shoulder here. This is actually a pear tree. This is Pyrus salicifolia. It takes that name because the shape of the leaves are like that of willow trees, which in its genus is called salix. So salicifolia means willow-like leaves. This is a Shakespeare Garden where there are some fantastic displays of spring flowering plants. Things like these erythoniums down here are so exotic looking, yet really enjoy damper, cooler areas in a garden. There's things like the crown imperials as well, Fritillaria imperialis, which is actually interestingly pollinated by birds in their native range. There's also the classics, forget-me-nots, native primroses that fill all the spaces, lungwort next to us here. And then when the summer comes, some of these really big showstoppers like the musk roses, particularly mentioned through a lot of Shakespeare's work, and he was a big fan of them, start to bring lots of perfume and aroma into the garden here as well. One of my favourite features at Crook Hall is our Cotoneaster Maze. Now, the Cotoneaster Maze was planted in the year 2000, so again, it's a modern feature. But the beautiful thing with mazes is that they are ancient in design. We've had mazes throughout much of humanity's history, but it always brings out the child in all of us. It doesn't matter if you're 4 years old, 7 years old, or 78. You can always associate with a maze, and it's fun and enjoyable. And the idea of being lost and finding your own way through things is actually a bit of homage as what we do at Crook here, the inspiration behind it all. As you get into the maze, you can see that it slowly steps up into the central area there, bringing more excitement to the adventure. As you can see behind me, spring really is starting to burst into colour at Crook Hall Gardens. All these beautiful palettes of tulips and daffodils, and we're still holding on to the last of some of the hellebores, which are again a great source of food for wildlife in winter. We also have further behind me some spectacular tree flowers coming into the run. One of our historic pear trees is just about finishing its display, but a week or two ago it filled up the wall just behind me, alongside a clematis armandii, which flowers through winter and just lifts the heart and soul when you come to Crook Hall Gardens. Magnolias are some of my favourite flowering trees that we have, and not only do you get these fantastic big blooms in the springtime, it's also one of the most ancient trees we have in the fossil record, going right back to the time of the dinosaurs. Ornamental cherry trees are great for almost replicating that feel of rainfall in a garden and seeing all those lovely petals dropping to the floor. It's so bright and vibrant and a real harbinger of springtime and tells you the wonderful things that are about to come. In other parts of the garden, we're seeing flowers appearing on the shrubs and trees, as well as some of these bulbs and perennial material around me. Some of my particular favourites are the lilacs, Syringa vulgaris, which not only have a beautiful bright pink spring flower, they have some of the most intoxicating sweet aromas that I've ever known in plants. All of these little sparks and injections of colour and the leaves really make Crook this green oasis in the heart of a very urban place, the city of Durham. This is another really fantastic shrub that you can have in your gardens at home. This is Darwin's berberis, or Berberis darwinii. And again, lovely early flowers on it, and a really great thing for wildlife with berberis, particularly darwinii, is that birds like long-tailed tits will often make their nests inside these plants because they're nice and dense and tight, and that's exactly what they're looking for in their own habitats. One of the lovely things that we play with at Crook Hall Gardens is this idea of secrecy and exploration to find it for yourself. Something to keep an eye out for as you explore the grounds here is all the little notes of statuary or fun emblems or fun planting designs, which really are to make you sort of stop and think and then be inspired and tell your own stories as influenced by the gardens around you. So around every little corner and every little room and space here, there are secrets to be found. This is one of the first real splashes of colour when you come into the gardens here. I just love this mixture of spring flowering plants, these wonderful daffodil and tulip bulbs, the just gentle but so vibrant forget-me-nots and some white thrown in as well. I also like that we include wildlife and nature in this, and we have what we would call a habitat or a wildlife habitat for creatures like solitary bees or earwigs and lacewings to lay up over the winter time, who are all valuable predators of sap-sucking insects like aphids in gardens. So it's really important that we look after all the invertebrates that we find here. And the wonderful thing is this order just doesn't stop going once the spring display is over. It gives over to perennial cornflowers, and the honesty starts to really get up and sing. And the flowering lilacs behind us, you might be able to see now, are just teeming with life, who are also enjoying the pleasures with the flowers. Here we are on one side of the walled gardens, so a lovely, sunny, warm area. And this gives us the opportunity to really experiment with that sort of cottage garden feel, I think is what comes through in here quite often. So again, at this time of year, you can see there's just lots and lots of really wonderful early spring flowering plants, like the pulmonarias here, that I can see a carder bee enjoying just down here. There's also things like Arum metallicum, which has got these beautiful large variegated silver and green leaves, and again things like the daffodils, the tulips, the hellebores are all at home in these parts of the garden here. And if you look really close, sometimes blink and you'll miss it, things like herbaceous peonies or early flowering irises will also be found in these areas. I have lots of favourite areas in gardens. It's so hard to choose. But in particular, I love the orchard that we have here. There's nothing that matches the feeling on a lovely warm spring day, walking underneath flowering apples, pears, cherries, gages, hearing the birds and hearing the bees, enjoying it as much as I am, and being able to reflect and relax is really something which takes me back to a time that maybe I'm nearly forgetting. So I'm very grateful to be able to have that experience here at Crook Hall Gardens. No garden is ever complete without some body of water or some water moving through it. I really enjoy this area because it encompasses native plants like marsh marigolds, cowslips, red campion, but also we have ornamental plants in here like the hostas that are from Japan, irises from Germany, lots of other ornamental but very attractive and damp soil loving plants in here. This is a part of the garden where acidic living plants are often found at home here, so things like the camellias and the acers and the azaleas and some of the smaller rhododendrons here. It's a really wonderful place if you've got soil at home which is slightly more acidic. There's lots of inspiration here. When I think about the visitor's journey here, I hope that everyone is taking home little ideas, little snippets of what you can do in your own green or grey garden spaces, whatever it may be. I think Crook Hall Gardens gives you the opportunity to look at what you could have. This is a very small garden on the scale of historic garden places, but with every square inch here we make use of it, and we try and demonstrate that through very precise and best practice in gardens and horticulture. And it's not just what you can see here, it's about what can you do at home to support the space that we are sharing this space with wildlife and nature as well, the pollinators, the bees, butterflies, hoverflies, the birds, the animals that are here. And we hope that we can encourage people to do more at home or in their own community spaces or their own green spaces to support wildlife and nature, because it's so important to us here, particularly as an organisation. We're a conservation organisation and we want to make sure that we're looking after special places for everyone to enjoy, and also for that to be taken away and be stuck in memories, to tell stories and bring stories to us and make sure that everybody is included and everyone is welcome.
To visit Crook Hall Gardens, head over to the National Trust website to find out more. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to Horticulture magazine for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.